please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
And April, every 15 days, depending on experience.
So what about extra neutral alcohol?
Extra have been deferred.
Okay,
No view taken on that.
States don't want to give up
Intrastate.
and interstate from 1st April?
Yes.
Okay. So return simplification still needs deliberation?
Yes, it does.
When are you meeting next, sir?
I think there's now a group, the same group has been expanded a bit.
Okay.
I think it will happen in the course of this month itself.
Okay, and so next GST Council meeting?
Not yet decided.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Well, hello and welcome. As you just heard, that was Finance Minister of Jammu and Kashmir, Hasib Drabu, in exclusive conversation with CNBC TV 18's Timsys Jaipuria in the interim of the 26th GST Council meet, which is currently underway in New Delhi. Now, Timsys Jaipuria, who has been tracking that meeting closely,
charge mechanism will be definitely brought in, but not immediately. Say from July onwards, reverse charge mechanism would be in operation for composition dealers, and then later for the other sectors.
So what about sir, extra neutral alcohol? Why was a decision not taken on getting extra neutral alcohol in the GST ambit?
Well, it's not within the broad purview of GST. So generally there is a resistance for discussing the council issues that are not directly related to
in favor
GST.
of including extra neutral alcohol within the ambit of GST?
No, that is not there. The constitutional amendment has exempted it, and we wouldn't like
So most states want to continue with it.
not more than continue. For example, Kerala has nothing to do with it.
Right.
But still, we wouldn't want at this stage to bring in new items.
So what about revenues?
GST.
Slipping revenues is a concern, and I'm sure there was a discussion on that as well.
Your revenues are not growing as expected, and that's primarily because there has been a sharp cut in the rates in month of November.
Yeah.
But despite the cut in the rates, the tax base was supposed to expand and revenues to be buoyant. But it shows there is serious leakage in the revenues taking place. E-way bill coming in will stem it to a great extent.
So you're also part of the GM on return simplification, sir. What is the decision taken today, and how will we see return simplification actually coming in?
Well, there are various models before us. One was the original model which the GST Council had approved. There was issues because many people felt there were 3 returns every month. That is complicated. So Nandan Nilekani had a model which is very simple in the sense that the seller and buyer settled between themselves, then only credit would be given. But it can result in delay of credit and so on, and serious issues. Therefore, they brought in a marriage of the 3 earlier.
well, that was Kerala's Finance Minister Thomas Isaac in conversation with Timsys Jaipuria. But we also have the Finance Minister who is talking in the interim. The meeting, remember, of the GST Council is still underway, but we have the Finance Minister addressing the media here in New Delhi. Let's listen in.
उसके ऊपर आज काफी चर्चा हुई। काउंसिल का ये मत था कि जो वो सिस्टम बनाया है, जिसमें सिंगल रिटर्न मंथली जाए, सरल हो, इवेजन प्रोन ना हो, उसका थोड़ा और सिंप्लीफिकेशन क्या हो सकता है। और इसलिए आज कोई कंक्लूसिव निर्णय नहीं लिया। जो मौजूदा सिस्टम है इसको 3 महीने के लिए और एक्सटेंड किया है, और इस बीच में वो जीओएन आईटी एक्सपर्ट्स के साथ इंटरैक्ट करते हुए जो आज सिस्टम प्रेजेंट किया गया, इसका और सिंप्लीफिकेशन कैसे हो सकता है, इसका मॉडल एक बनाने की कोशिश करेगा। दूसरा एक प्रपोजल रिवर्स चार्ज मैकेनिज्म का था, जिसको 3 महीने के लिए अभी एक्सटेंड किया गया है। टीडीएस और टीसीएस सिस्टम, उसकी भी जो फॉर्मेलिटीज फाइनलाइज होनी है, जिसमें सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट और स्टेट गवर्नमेंट के अकाउंटिंग सिस्टम लिंक होने हैं, उसको भी 30 जून तक एक्सटेंड किया गया है। फर्स्ट अप्रैल 2018 से इंटरस्टेट ट्रांसपोर्टेशन ऑफ गुड्स में ई-वे बिल लागू होगा। उसके बाद पूरे देश को, स्टेट्स को 4 हिस्सों में कैटेगराइज किया गया है। एक एक सप्ताह के बाद जो इंट्रा स्टेट ई-वे बिल होगा, वो एक एक सप्ताह के बाद उन रीजन्स में लागू होता जाएगा फेज्ड मैनर के अंदर। यानी कि अप्रैल के महीने में उसको कंप्लीट करने का एक प्रयास किया जाएगा। जो जीएसटी इंप्लीमेंटेशन कमेटी है, जीआईसी, जो ग्रीवियंस रिड्रेसल का काम है, ये रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी भी उसी को दी गई है आज के निर्णय के अनुसार। ब्रॉडली ये प्रोसीजरल
exemption of benefits given to exporters through 6 months exporter के लिए।
ये जो टैक्स एग्जेम्पशन एक्सपोर्टर्स के लिए थे, उसको और 6 महीने के लिए बढ़ा दिया गया है। थैंक यू।
तो
इसको लेकर क्या
सीबीईसी चेयरपर्सन will tell you.
I'd like to explain this. Actually, there have been a lot of issues for exporters' refunds which have been gone into. A sufficient amount, almost 5,000 crores, has been given. Many issues which came in have been sorted out by issuing circulars and instructions to help trade. I must share that there have been some issues with regard to errors creeping in on the side of the exporters while filing their claim itself. There are, in fact, errors in the shipping bill. There are errors, even a small error the system will not accept. So to solve those problems, we resorted to partial manual. Now, to solve it completely, we have instituted a special fortnight. It's a special drive for refunds exporters, starting on the 15th of this month, which will go on till the 29th. There are going to be camps all over the country, so that people, all exporters can come with their refund problem. They will be explained what their problem is. They will be asked to rectify it, and then the process will start and the refund will be given. So we hope by 31st March, all pending refund claims as far as exporters are concerned should be sorted out.
Sir, inter-state में threshold क्या होगा? Inter-state में तो 50,000 का ई-वे का है. Inter-state में threshold क्या होगा, sir?
Same.
जिस पे चर्चा चल रही थी कि ATF, एक्स्ट्रा नेचुरल अल्कोहल,
It's been deferred.
It's been deferred.
That item is deferred now, for want of time.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Well, that categorical clarification coming in from the Finance Minister, of course, we did hear Jammu and Kashmir's Finance Minister as well as Kerala's Finance Minister break that news to CNBC TV 18 just minutes ago. But the clarification coming in as far as the e-way bill is concerned, and Finance Minister categorically indicating in that press conference that it will be rolled out in a staggered manner from the 1st of April. Now, interstate transport of goods will, of course, see the levy of an e-way bill. He went on to say that states have been grouped into 4 categories and the rollout of this e-way bill will take place in a staggered manner. He went on to add that there will hopes of completing this entire rollout by the end of April. But this is a significant relief indeed for the entire industry, because you are talking about clarity that has finally come in. A whole host of concerns regarding the e-way bill and the rollout of the e-way bill, which was attempted by the centre not so successfully just a few weeks ago. And we did see a lot of issues being raised across states on that crucial point. And in today's meeting, remember, the meeting is still underway. We did see the Finance Minister break off in the middle to actually address the media. But let's once more listen in to Thomas Isaac, the Finance Minister of Kerala, who's categorically indicated what the key takeaways of that meeting are so far. Let's listen in.
So anything on the issues regarding where rates had to be reworked, anything that has come up on that, and anything on reverse charge mechanism?
So reverse charge mechanism will be definitely brought in, but not immediately. Say from July onwards, reverse charge mechanism would be in operation for composition dealers, and then later for the other sectors.
So what about sir, extra neutral alcohol? Why was a decision not taken on getting extra neutral alcohol in the GST ambit?
Well, it's not within the broad purview of GST. So generally there is a resistance for discussing the council issues that are not directly related to
in favor
GST.
of including extra neutral alcohol within the ambit of GST?
No, that is not there. The constitutional amendment has exempted it, and we wouldn't like
so most states want to continue with
not more than continue. For example, Kerala has nothing to do with it.
Right.
But still, we wouldn't want at this stage to bring in new items.
So what about revenues?
GST.
Slipping revenues is a concern, and I'm sure there was a discussion on that as well.
Your revenues are not growing as expected, and that's primarily because there has been a sharp cut in the rates in month of November.
Yeah.
But despite the cut in the rates, the tax base was supposed to expand and revenues to be buoyant. But this shows there is serious leakage in the revenues taking place. E-way bill coming in will stem it to a great extent.
So you're also part of the GM on return simplification, sir. What is the decision taken today, and how will we see return simplification actually coming in?
Well, there are various models before us. One was the original model which the GST Council had approved. There was issues because many people felt there were 3 returns every month. That is complicated. So Nandan Nilekani had a model which is very simple in the sense that the seller and buyer settle between themselves, then only credit will be given. But it can result in delay of credit and so on, and serious issues. Therefore, they brought in a marriage of the 3 earlier existing VAT
so this means
return
3B
system.
will continue.
So now 3B will continue
Till
for
when, sir?
Next 3 months.
Till
next 3 months.
Next 3 months. So what about the details when we talk of how to control the other issues when it comes to, will e-way bill solve the purpose of revenue leakage itself, or?
Well, it is, I think, the biggest hole in the system. And it will significantly reduce the leakage.
Sir, there's a phased manner of implementation planned for intra-states. When for the 4-phase manner.
Well, let's get in Pratik Jain, who is joining us on the phone line. Now, of course, he needs no introduction, the leader of indirect tax as far as PwC India goes. Pratik, thanks so much for joining in. Like we mentioned to our viewers, the 26th meeting of that GST Council still underway, but we did see the Finance Minister break for just a while to indicate that one top headline coming out as far as this council meet is concerned, and I need your reaction on that first. As far as the rollout of the e-way bill is concerned, it's not yet happened. It's going to happen in a staggered manner from the 1st of April. Now, your key reactions to this, because as far as we understand, you were very hopeful that there will be a decision on the rollout of the e-way bill today itself.
Yes, so I mean, okay, so I'm not very clear that when they talk about the staggered rollout, are they only talking about intra-state staggered rollout? Because I thought that decision as far as interstate is concerned has already been taken from April 1. I think the government wants to stick with that because a couple of days back they came up with a notification making certain modifications that clearly suggest that they don't want to compromise with this April 1 deadline. But if it is on a staggered basis, that's fine because, obviously the system could not take a load on February 1 when they tried to implement it nationwide. So I think staggered basis is fine, but I'll only expect that they come up with a clear notification which are the states which are going to come from which date, because earlier there was a lot of confusion in that. So staggered basis per se is fine, but I still think that the government might want to implement the interstate waiver from April 1, and only the intrastate would be staggered over the next few days.
Well, absolutely, Pratik. If I can also ask you, what we're given to understand at the moment, of course, you did mention which states, what sources are indicating to the channel is it could be the likes of Kerala, Karnataka and Tamil Nadu in that first phase. But when grouping of states goes out, the e-way bill has not been rolled out in the right manner in the earlier stance. So do you think grouping of states, we heard the Finance Minister is going to be grouping it into 4 categories, grouping of states in a staggered rollout, do you think this will actually mean that it's going to be a seamless process here henceforth? And like we mentioned, April 15 seems to be what kind of date they've indicated to begin the rollout. So do you think now it will be a seamless process as far as the rollout of the e-way bill is concerned?
Look, I mean, I'm not sure. I have always believed that e-way bill to start with is not a good idea. But yes, I think the staggered rollout is much better than nationwide rollout from one date, because it gives you adequate time to test the system, test the load, etc. It also gives time to the industry to understand the rules and start doing it on a staggered basis. So staggered basis is obviously much better than a nationwide rollout. Obviously, one has to still see how the system works, whether adequate stress testing has happened or not. I mean, those are the things that we'll have to see. But yes, as a principle, staggered rollout is better than a national rollout, and I would hope that this time around the system will behave much better than what it did.
That, Pratik, but hold on to your thoughts, because we also... Well, we also have Harishankar Subramanian from EY joining us. He is the partner indirect tax at EY. And Harishankar, thanks so much for joining in. We just heard Pratik's reaction as far as this announcement from the GST Council goes. Your initial reactions on the fact that it's likely to be a staggered rollout from the 15th of April. States going to be grouped into 4 categories. Initially, do you think this is the right way to approach the rolling out of the e-way bill?
Well, there are 2 things that the Finance Minister and all the ministers said, is that the interstate will start from April 1st. That seems to be a national this thing. It's a national chain that will happen from the 1st of April. All that they mentioned was the intrastate will be in 4 stages. Probably all the states are getting divided into 4 lots. I presume they will come with very specific notifications as to which are the states starting on which date. And that will probably happen in a staggered manner, which is good, because I think they've realized that when you do it all nationally, the ability of the system to take that load becomes a problem, and interstate will be a much more volume than what the interstate will be. So from a procedure perspective, I hope the system should function better this time. I also understand after the last time's problems, they have tested the system for larger volumes. So from a rollout perspective, the staggered rollout will be good. Will be good from a rollout perspective, from an IT system perspective, but we'll have to still wait and see how it behaves after April 1st or after when the intra-state starts. But from a procedure perspective, it's much better than what they decided to attempt the last time. And the fact that interstate starts is also because of the fact that there is you can't deny the fact that the revenues are not becoming buoyant. They're still staggering at the level of, they're still more or less at that 85,000, 87,000 crores. So they believe that there is leakage that is happening, especially on interstate, including intrastate. So e-way bill will try and plug some of those leakages, and then the revenue will start improving maybe in the next couple of months as the e-way bill stabilizes. That's another thing that they are looking at.
Absolutely, Mr. Subramaniam. In fact, your message seems to actually echo the sentiments conveyed by both state finance ministers, Haseeb Drabu as well as Thomas Isaac, who did indicate that they expect this staggered rollout to actually build back buoyancy as far as the revenues are concerned. Now, whether that will actually take place remains to be seen, but they are very confident that this rollout mechanism of the e-way bill will actually plug the so-called leakages that they are experiencing as far as the revenue is concerned. So hopefully a step in the right direction is what the finance minister feels, just like you as well. But the second headline, of course, from that, tax exemptions for exporters has been extended by 6 months. Now, how do you think this will actually help the industry?
See, export refunds, I just heard in the press conference the chairman of CBEC mentioning, though they have disbursed a fair amount of money, they mentioned a number of roughly around 5,000 crores plus, it still is a pain point for exporters. So exemption continuing was something that was expected. But even from a point of view of refunds, whether it's refunds or rebates, there still is an issue from a system perspective, because if there are any errors, either from the exporter side or any errors by virtue of the system, the refund gets stuck. So I just heard, I didn't hear it too clearly. I heard they're creating a system where there will be a regular interaction on any grievances that exporters will face on a fortnightly basis to try and resolve this problem and try and remove the backlog by March 31st. Because this is a real serious problem. Some of those numbers for whether it's an MSME or a large exporter are pretty significant. It puts a huge stress on working capital. So to me, the exporter situation has become better than what it was maybe 2 to 3 months back, but I really don't feel it has been completely resolved. So that's an area where they really need to concentrate. So I'm happy that the exemption has been extended. Also, they are also focusing on what are the issues that the exporters are facing from a system perspective and from an errors perspective, because any small error that happens also results in you not getting the refund and the data not migrating from GSTN to the custom systems and vice versa. So that's another area which I feel is a good move, but I still will feel a lot of effort has to be put into that for ensuring exporters get that money on time, or else it becomes a serious working capital issue.
Absolutely. Mr. Harishankar, thanks so much for joining and truly appreciate you taking the time. In fact, coming back to you, Prateek, we just heard Mr. Harishankar indicate that a good move, of course, by the GST Council is extending the SOPs for exporters by 6 months, but a lot more has to be done, because if the refunds don't come on time, then it's a serious working capital issue. So, Prateek, if I can come back to you and ask you, what do you read of this move, the tax exemption for exporters, the deadline for which has been extended by 6 months?
Yes, so I think I agree with Hari. I think this is on expected lines, and export refund is still a big problem. The government had earlier indicated that from April 1, 2018, they would bring in some kind of an e-wallet system. I think that is has been delayed, so there is no e-wallet system is coming right now. Therefore, they don't have any option but to extend the exemption for 6 months. I think next 6 months, government should take to really iron out all the issues from the system side, from the procedural side, from procedural standpoint, and ensure that once after 6 months the tax comes back upfront, then the refund is streamlined, because sectors like textile, leather, they have really been hit hard because of export refunds not coming. So I think it's a good move. I mean, 6 months is a long time for the government to iron out the refund-related processes.
And clearly the key headline coming out of that one, the finance minister reiterating that the e-way bill will be rolled out in a staggered manner from the 1st and 15th of April as far as interstate e-way bill and intrastate e-way bill goes. So that is the top talking point that we're focusing on at the moment. And we're joined by Mr. M.S. Mani, a partner of GST at Deloitte India. Mr. Mani, thanks so much for joining in. If I can ask you the first reaction to that key announcement by the GST Council today, a staggered rollout of that e-way bill. Finally, will this mean a seamless rollout of this mechanism, Mr. Mani?
Okay, so I think this was expected, because just 2 days back, there were a lot of simplification measures which were announced as part of the e-way bill simplification process. And some of the changes which came out just 2 days back clearly seem to indicate that the government was intent on going ahead with 1st of April. What is expected now is that the technology portal has had enough time to go through and be prepared for the volume of e-way bills which will need to be generated. The fact that they have introduced some further simplification, and let me just mention one very basic aspect which has been done now, which should have been done much earlier. Part A and Part B of the e-way bill can both now be generated by the transporter. And Part A of the e-way bill is something which earlier could be generated by the consignee also. That is now to be generated only by the consignor or transporter. The reason why this is very important is because all of these clearly seem to indicate a lot of thought has now gone into e-way bill finally. And therefore, assuming the portal works well from 1st of April, I think this will be a very good thing to have.
Well, Mr. Mani, as far as, dividing the states into 4 categories are concerned, and what we're picking up at CNBC TV 18 is that it could be Karnataka, Kerala and Tamil Nadu initially. Do you really think that, going about this entire rollout in a staggered state-wise manner will actually mean that very soon we can see the benefits of, this e-waybill mechanism trickling down? And one of the key concerns as far as the revenues from GST are concerned, it's not really been buoyant. So a lot of the state finance ministers in conversation with us have indicated that, a seamless e-waybill mechanism rollout will actually help in plugging the revenue leakage. Do you agree with that as well?
Yeah, completely agree. And I think the fact remains that we have to look at e-waybill in the context in which it was introduced. Because if you recollect, until early December, there wasn't too much of discussion on e-waybill. It was in a meeting which was convened on an emergency basis towards the end of December, where they decided to go ahead with the e-waybill, which primarily is on account of the fact that the collections have not been buoyant at all. In fact, they have been dipping after the first month. So while they were expected to go up after the first month of GST rollout, they have been dipping month on month. And what does the government do? And that is the context in which the e-waybill was introduced. When it comes to a staggered e-waybill mechanism, I think that is very good from a technology standpoint or a government standpoint, but it is going to make things very difficult for businesses. Because businesses which now have an all-India presence will now need to ensure that their processes are defined for certain states at certain point of time. It will not be a seamless e-waybill for large pan-India companies, because they now have to ensure that 4 states they have to have e-waybills from, let us say, 15th of April, maybe 4 more states from 1st of May. And therefore, for the next 3 months also, large pan-India businesses will be grappling with, the e-waybill all over again.
Absolutely. So it could be a very good move as far as the government is concerned, but slight issue as far as large businesses are concerned is what you're saying, Mr. Mani. But one final question before we wrap up programming for this bulletin. Tax bureaucracy felt the simplification should not provide room for tax evasion. That's a statement made by the finance minister when asked, are they looking to simplify actually filing of returns process? So do you think your reaction to the comment by the finance minister, how is the government going to balance as far as tax evasion is concerned as well as simplification of the entire procedure goes?
I would not look at simplification as a measure of tax evasion, because to my mind, simplification and tax evasion do not have any kind of a linear relationship at all. So when we talk of simplification in GST, what we are essentially talking is of having 3 returns clubbed into 1 return. Now, 3 returns into 1 return will actually help the government also, because today there are a lot of people who are not able to file any of the returns. And therefore, simplification is not something which businesses have been asking in order to benefit by evading tax or otherwise. Simplification is a need of the hour because we have to increase the rate of compliance. If you look at the last few months, for instance, approximately 60% of the people who are registered on the GST portal have been filing returns. Now, why is it 60 and why is it not been going up to 65 or 70 or 75? That is the context in which simplification needs to be looked at. Added to this is the fact that I believe the law committee, which is headed by Mr. Sushil Modi, 2 weeks back, they addressed a press conference where I believe they said that they have recommended a single stage return, which can take care of most of the issues in terms of return filing. And I'm sure the law committee would have been cognizant of the fact that they should not leave any room for tax evaders. At the same time, it needs to be certainly made much more simpler than the 3-stage return that we have now.
Absolutely. Mr. Mani, thank you so much for joining us with your comments. Truly appreciate that. But on this note, it's an absolute wrap on this episode of GST Centimeter. Thanks for watching and stay tuned. CNBC TV 18 brings you all news and highlights all through the day. Thanks for watching.